Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get in the Garage.
We're a music podcast.
For music lovers.
As always, great show planned for you guys today, but before we begin, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and share the podcast and all that stuff. We really, really appreciate it. Also, happy... 'tis the season. Happy December holidays.
Happy whenever you celebrate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Happy December, everybody.
Happy December. It's
Happy
we're
winter
nearing the
solstice.
winter solstice. Yeah, so it's called for celebration. But so we have a very special episode. Luke, would you like to tell good people what this episode is?
Well, yes, we usually do a music review for you, but the days are getting shorter and the musical year is wrapping up, and we thought that we would give you a Beatles Extravaganza. We have music news as always. Then we are going to recap 1 year later the documentary Get Back, the 3-part series that premiered on Disney Plus over Thanksgiving of last year. We watched it again over the Thanksgiving holiday, and we are going to talk about it and see how we feel about it a year later. Then we are going to come back to our wildly successful segment from our audio-only days. We are going to do a Beatles album draft. This time we are going to combine 2 albums. We have Rubber Soul, the creative breakthrough, and Revolver, the further creative breakthrough. And we are going to mix those together. They're kind of in the same period, and we are going to draft them and make the perfect Beatles albums for ourselves. Who gets the best album? We will see. It's all coming up.
It's all
on
coming
an
up.
episode of Get in the Garage.
Yeah, here. We're fine.
The second episode does feel like band practice, though. It's so monotonous.
It's hard.
The second episode is so monotonous. Oh,
Yes.
before we get into the news, a lot of toast in the Beatles Get Back.
So much toast.
A lot of toasty.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. Yes. So as Luke said, we open every episode with some music news. Does anybody have any music news that they would like to lead off with?
Sad music news.
Sad music news. Well, you want to get it up on the front.
Yeah. R.I.P. Christine McVie.
Yes.
Vocalist, keyboardist for Fleetwood Mac. In my opinion, the best member of Fleetwood Mac.
I share that opinion.
With
Yes,
the
that's a-
band,
that's a way.
I think officially starting in like 1970, 1971, but played featured on albums starting in like 1968. She sang lead and was the songwriter on over a third of all the stuff she ever participated in. So like if you just chop it up on who is the main person in that band, she kind of took a lot of weight on. Great singer, great keyboardist, and 79 years old. Died
Yeah.
today,
Died today. Yeah.
November 30th.
This is quite breaking news. It was on our way home. We heard it on the Sirius satellite radio.
Yeah.
That I got a free child of, and it sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
Fix your audio, guys. But
Yeah.
it was very shocking, and she's a very big part of that band and an integral part. Like so many big hits are sung and written by her. Giant loss because what a great songwriter.
Shout out, listen to Songbird. It's from Rumors. It's done in one take, and it's her singing and playing piano and Lindsey Buckingham doing some acoustic strumming. And it's just a beautiful song.
Yeah.
So that's a particular one. I assume that might be like the one that is played at whatever services they have and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, we went to go see them. Oh, I can't remember. Jade and I went to go see them. I think she came back to the band. 2014 is when they
Yeah.
did the classic lineup thing.
Yep.
So I think it was for that tour, that
Sure.
promotional tour. We saw them in Hartford, and they closed with Songbird.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, when it comes to like deliver, I mean, the whole band delivered really well. But Christine McVie, it's like once I saw them live, I was like, oh, she's the one. She's the one. So
I have this
she will be
cool
missed.
Fleetwood Mac bootleg here where it has Alice in Wonderland on the cover coming through the mirror. One side of it is before Christine McVie is in the band, and the second half is when she's in the band, hence the Alice in Wonderland cover.
Sure.
And yeah, it's just like a great like entering the era of Fleetwood Mac that she would, push the band. She really kept the band together for a long, long time,
Yeah.
and was like
Yeah.
one of the solid core members. The three of them that really trudged and made that band something after the '60s Fleetwood Mac imploded. So
Yeah.
hardworking band, great musician.
Yeah.
Sad
Great
rest in
musician.
peace.
Yeah. Well, moving on. I have a piece of music news. If you want me to start that off. So Nas and 21 Savage. I think we talked about it in the last episode. Nas
Who's
and
got
21
beef?
Savage.
Who's got beef?
They had beef because 21 Savage said that like Nas was like crusty and old and irrelevant and probably broke or something to that effect.
Broke.
And like irrelevant. That's what it really was. He said he was irrelevant. The beef has been squashed. A very short-lived beef, but it has formally been squashed, and they're getting together to be on a new song called "One Mic, One Gun." I'm not sure when it's coming out, but it just
Jeff's scrunchy face.
I ain't into
That
this,
was-
man. He should be on Mount Olympus. He shouldn't have even addressed to this shit.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But I hope it's a good song.
I will
21.
say this. 21. I will say this. It's nice to see that like the effort was put forth to have it be resolved instead of to perpetuate a sort of a beef on this grand scale. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if he was I agree with you that I think he should have just brushed that shit off and not even addressed it.
Yeah.
But, at least it's like a positive outcome,
Squash and beef.
21.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything music news related?
Yeah, Luke can go.
No,
I just
Jeff,
have one more
please,
thing.
please go.
Well, the latest single by Metallica was released.
Oh, yeah. Or, excuse me. Yeah.
Called Lux Eterna. It's for Metallica's forthcoming album, which is called 72 Seasons, I believe.
Yeah.
It'll be their first studio album in I think 6 years. I listened to it. The song is like it's
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
The one comment people were like is like, "There's no way that's Lars playing drums," and I read, "There's no way that's Lars playing drums." It's just not. It's all like crazy 16th note double bass drums and stuff. But cool, man. Studio is your friend. Trickery, do it.
Yeah, I mean, he could be running
Whatever.
triggers
Well,
too.
Yeah.
Let's hear it live, because Metallica are a band that just comes out and will play live, and they do not sound great all the time, and they know it.
Oh, they go for songs. Did you ever see that when it's like, I think it's Rob Trujillo and Kirk Hammett try to do Purple Rain
Oh,
because they're
yeah.
playing, and you're just like,
Purple Pain.
oh,
It was awful.
It was really, really
Yeah.
bad.
Or Wham. No, not Wham. But Take on Me. Aha.
Yes.
They did
Yeah.
that one too.
Yeah.
So whatever, it is what it is. Biggest metal band of all time, and if you're just using Trickery to make your 16th note double bass drums, whatever, I don't care.
I'll tell you who
It
definitely
sounds good, so I don't give a shit.
But let me just say, I'll tell you who definitely played their instrument, Kirk Hammett, because that solo is.
Wad out. Come
it's
on.
So I'm just like, get out.
What are you talking about?
No, man, I'm telling you. I was the crybaby because I'm like, yo, man, why?
Jesus Christ.
Like,
Yo,
what the fuck?
20
Like,
years
come on,
sober,
man.
James Hetfield though sounds really good.
Yeah, it's James.
He's never
James
sounded
was-
better, really.
Yeah, and Rob Trujillo, that goes without
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
though. He's professional. He's the
This was the first Metallica single I've heard in my adult life since I've been alive. This is the first Metallica single I've heard since I've been alive where I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty
Come
cool.
on, man.
Yeah.
Hey. That's the best one.
I just want Fuel 12 times on one album. It's called their greatest hits, and it's the same fucking song.
Hey, they did give you Fuel on one album.
They gave
It
me
was
Fire.
Called,
They gave me that, which I desire.
It was called Reload.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
So I we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not a hater until I hear what it is.
I
We
have-
did Nickelback last week, so anything's
who's to
possible.
say?
I have faith that this is going to be a decent Metallica album.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
faith. I do.
Yeah. Luca?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Court is in session.
I'm throwing the hammer down legal news. So, lawmakers, legal experts, they are ratcheting up on Ticketmaster. Senator Dick Blumenthal and Amy
Big
Klobuchar.
Dick.
Yeah, Dick Blumenthal from our own Connecticut represent, and Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, and Edward Markey from Massachusetts, I believe. Yeah, MA, right? Massachusetts?
Yep.
There you go. So they are furthering the investigation to the monopoly into Ticketmaster. They are asking another part of the government to further look into how deep the monopoly is. And we have a statistic into how deep that is. Ticketmaster is more than 80% of the primary ticket sales. So that's 8 out of every 10 tickets sold is sold through Ticketmaster. And these senators are looking into it and further investigating. So I thought that was a interesting follow-up from last week's little, Ticketmaster thing. So I wanted to catch up with you guys on that, and I would also like to catch up with Bob Dylan.
Oh, where's your guy? You have to. Well, it's not really legal, but
This is not legal news.
potentially.
No. So I want to
You're gonna
read.
hear from our lawyers.
I want to read a statement. So if you missed last week's show, Bob Dylan sold auto pen signed books, and not real, and they were $600, and they had to refund everyone's money because they weren't a real signature. This is the statement Bob Dylan has released since that has all come out.
Please respectfully deliver in his voice.
Oh, that's so hard,
Would
man.
you like me to do it? I'm a master impressionist.
Okay. We have
What era of Bob Dylan am I doing though?
Current.
Come
Current?
on, Current.
we have the first quote up there, and then we have the second paragraph quote. Do you see?
Yeah.
I've been made aware that there's some controversy about signatures on some of my recent artwork prints
More rasp.
and on a limited edition of Philosophy of a Modern Song. And I've hand-signed each and every art print over the years, and there's never been a problem.
He continued.
However, in 2019, I had a bad case of vertigo, and it continued into the pandemic years.
Do I have to keep doing this?
Yes.
It takes a crew of 5 working in close quarters with me to help enable these signing sessions. And we could not find a safe and
More
workable,
rasp.
way to
Sound-
complete it.
You sound more like Fat Albert.
So anyway,
During the pandemic.
so Bob Dylan blamed it on the vertigo.
I
And
understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
he was like pretty much like,
Yeah.
I usually sign stuff, and he's like, they came to me and they were like, everybody does this, it's fine. And he was like, okay. And he was like, it was a bad moment of judgment. And also he said he was suffering from vertigo.
Yeah.
Is that the old man's exhaustion? Who knows?
Who's to say?
Also, AutoPen is
The
not.
times they are changing.
Yeah, they are. AutoPen is not like you you stamp like the thing. AutoPen is like a guided robotic thing. Like those self programmed like sewing machines and shit like that.
Yeah, right,
It's
right.
basically that. You hold it with your hand, but it's programmed to do the shapes. So I assume he's sitting at a table just holding onto this thing that's doing the shapes better for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
it said,
whatever.
so
Who
during
cares?
the pandemic, it was impossible to sign anything, and the vertigo didn't help. With contractual deadlines looming, the idea of using an auto pen was suggested to me, along with the assurance that this kind of thing was done all the time in the art and literary world. But he found out that it really kind of isn't.
Yeah.
So
How many copies was it?
I mean, it had to be tons. He's Bob Dylan. You get like $600. How many people have $600 and you just get a Bob Dylan autograph?
But do we think it's? Because I'm just thinking about
Probably
how
like
much time
2,000
things.
copies, I would imagine.
I would imagine something like
But
that.
2000s is
two to three.
too intense to do. I mean, it's a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It would
That-
take
that
like a whole.
vertigo.
It would take a whole fucking weekend, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
to
I
do
get it.
2,000 signatures.
I get it.
Yeah, it's just like table after. It's like imagine.
Respect to you, Bob
Imagine
Dylan.
3,000 books in here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 3,000 records in here.
It did say you needed like a team of 5 people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Divide and conquer.
900 books.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh, come on, Bob.
that
The
well,
vertigo's not that bad.
it's right on the line.
Of Arrested Development, who's got the vertigo? Oh, Lucille too.
Seal 2's got the vertigo. Read me the specials.
Well, hey, whatever. People get their money back, or they'll get the real deal. He's a
Bob
man of his
Dylan.
word.
Read me the specials.
Read me the specials.
Club sauce.
Oh, did you guys see the beef going on with the Journey band members?
Oh my god.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
So Journey band members Jonathan Cain and Neil Scone, is that how you say his name?
Sean.
Thank you. Face off
Oh.
in court over credit card use. So
Corporate accounts.
Jonathan is suing Neil because Neil has been spending too much money, according to Jonathan, because he is in some kind of financial trouble and is racking up debt on the band's corporate card, according to Jonathan. According to Neil,
oh my.
according to Neil, Journey needs a new keyboard player, and Jonathan needs to go. So
Those
they're-
are the two longest members of that band. currently.
the only two original members of Journey.
Well, Kane's only been in since the late 70s, but yeah.
yeah. But so that's
Only 45 years.
only 45 years.
A measly 45 years.
So that
Yeah.
is pretty intense going on at the moment. Yes, Alex.
Over $1 million spent on the corporate credit card.
That ain't nothing, man. That's what he spent on cocaine in 1975.
Yeah, right.
So that was pretty crazy, and the crazier thing is they're going on tour very soon, which I also
Gotta make that
thought
money back.
was even more outrageous. So they're going on tour next year, and they're having this litigation while they're currently about to tour. That seems like an absolute nightmare. I can't imagine going to rehearsals, but
Yeah.
sounds fun for everybody. The U.S. tour starts January
There'll be
27th.
Journeys featuring Jonathan Kane. That's what it'll be.
He's going to be the Richard Wright
yeah,
of Journey
it'll just
now.
be his own thing.
So to piggyback a little bit off of what Jeffrey was saying with Metallica, did you see that Metallica is headlining for what will be a pretty massive stadium tour? Not a massive stadium, not a lot of stadiums, but and Pantera is on the bill. Pantera, for those who don't know, Dimebag Darrell, Vinnie Paul, the two brothers and founding members of Pantera, since passed away. And we were talking about how it's like, is it fair to call it Pantera? I mean, it's Rex Brown and Phil Anselmo. Zach Wilde's on drums, and Zach Wilde's on guitar, and then the drummer is the dude from Anthrax. Like, his name escapes me. But
Alex, get us that name.
but it's like that whole thing where it's like, would it have been better off if it was like a tribute to Pantera instead of calling themselves Pantera? I don't know.
seems
apples
weird.
and opals. They're the same.
I suppose.
I guess it's gonna be like but it's yes.
Charlie Benanti.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yeah.
They got the right members to fill the slots. I feel.
Yeah, longtime friends of the two guys who died. So
Yes. So I mean, it is cool in some sense. But it's kind of like. It's kind of weird, but kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they got giant names. They didn't get like nobodies. They got like the people.
Yeah, Zach Wilde
And
is
he-
probably the only.
they should just tour it as Spanish Panther
Yeah, exactly.
with the same letters.
Yeah.
Same font.
But that's the.
I
mean,
don't know. Maybe they'll tour and like become like some kind of like rest in peace tribute thing. It's like the Grateful Dead, man. It's like
Yeah, it's the
it's-
Dead and Company idea. It's that thing.
I-
Pantera and Company.
With John Mayer on guitar.
dude, he needs a gig.
Yeah, I know. He's about to get replaced. It's a completely different switch up for his style, so you never know. Anyway, that's the extent of my ramblings about that. I don't know. It's just
That was 40-year-old white guy ramblings.
Yeah, I know. What can
The
you
fuck,
do?
man.
What the fuck?
Have some
bro?
respect for fallen legends.
Yeah, man, it's Dimebag Darrell. I love Dimebag Darrell. Anyway, any more music news,
I have no more music news.
Jeffrey? No. All right. Let's move on then.
Let's get back.
Let's get back. So around this time last year, The Beatles Get Back, directed by Peter Jackson, was released on Disney Plus, and we talked about it back then. And now, it's kind of like a year later, looking back.
It's
what do we
exactly
think?
been a year later.
Yeah.
It's not kind of been.
Well, no, I mean
it's mostly been.
You're like
It's
it's
mostly
kind of
been.
a year later. I was
Yeah.
like, it's been exactly 1 year later.
Yeah. So, but looking back, what do we think? What did we pick up? Maybe a little bit. It's not going to be a deep dive, but some interesting stuff, some interesting insight into the Beatles.
I was so the first time I watched it, I was like, oh my god. So I didn't have that the second time I watched it because I've seen it before. So kind
Yeah.
of the shock and awe went away. I think I watched it 3 times last November when it came out.
That's why.
I went nuts with
Because
it.
I watched it this time, I was like, shock and awe. A plenty.
Yeah.
But I only watched it the one time last year.
Right.
I went pretty hard the first viewing session last year. Really went and watched it multiple times. So this was kind of I was looking for other things. I was mostly watching other people as opposed to watching the Beatles I had first had,
Yeah.
or was more looking around the room
Sure.
because I'd been okay, I kind of had focused on this before. So I saw some interesting things and I really enjoyed that viewing of it, looking around at other things going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I especially was kind of because I've only I watched it once last year, and then this was the second viewing for me, and it's I guess I forgot how when George and Paul are kind of button heads, I'm like, oh yeah, they were really George was just I don't know what you want me to do, man. What do you want me to do? And Paul's just like, well, just do what I would do. And he's like, yeah, but I'm not you. I can't do what you would do. I can only do what I can do.
It's like, I'm a fucking hack.
You know, I mean, he was limited. Let's say limited at the time. You know, his guitar chops are,
It's
you
a
know.
joke.
So it's just, it
Yeah.
was interesting to just watch that play out. And then after the fact, you know, like the microphone that's hidden in like the flower pot when when John and Paul are talking about George. And then and Paul's very like, yeah, I guess I was like a certain kind of way. And John was like, I guess I was a certain kind of way too. And, you know, it was interesting. It was interesting to hear them just have like a real conversation. That's kind of like a conflict, but trying to resolve it and trying to, you know, like, to see them healthy communicating, I guess, was an interesting thing to watch again.
Yeah. What did you?
Oh, I loved it. First thing that sticks out to me is you turn it on and it's like a fucking magic trick how clear it looks and how the colors look, and just like a lot of shit you watch from that period in time seems like fake, like too much color, and this is like you're in the room with these dudes and, you know, people in general. It's crazy to see the dynamics of a band, especially the band that is the biggest band that's ever been a band. It's crazy that these are all dudes who are not even 30 yet. And they're like so like road worn and just like jaded of the whole being ultra celebrities thing and like churning out music. The creative process is still just so cool to see just as a musician. Because we've all been in the room where you're writing something and you're figuring something out, and some guy has a song idea and you're like, oh, I think I could make this a little better, but how do I go about like kind of adding stuff or telling him like, can we change this chord? And you see like them work shit out. Yeah.
This viewing, I really noticed like I was hyper focused in the first episode to look at how much they were ignoring George. And like George really does come in and does like a kind of tap dance for them, and you can kind of see like their ego kind of all battling a little bit, because he comes in, he's like, this is a Dylan song you haven't even heard yet, and he like plays them a Dylan song they haven't heard yet, which is like,
Yeah.
and then he plays All Things Must Pass, and he has like stuff like ready to like rock and go. And the other two, like Lennon comes in with like Don't Let Me Down and almost nothing else. And Paul really has stuff, but he's not like super willing to like soup in with stuff yet. And they ignore all of George's stuff. Like, so they just like ignore, because he has like stuff to work on. Like he brings in I Me Mine, Run Day, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big one where Lennon comes in and there's this big conflict like happening on the camera, but it's like hard to pick up where and how it's happening, because like Lennon's like, oh, we don't write dance music. I think I said this last year when we did this, but he's like, we're not a dance band, we don't write like waltz music, right? And they have a song perfectly ready to like work on and like finish right there, but they like half work on it and then ignore it because Lennon's like, I don't want to deal with this. But also you could see it's because John Lennon has no music. He has like, he's sitting there with like zero songs. And so it's almost like his jealousy to be like, I don't want to work on anything, even though Harrison has like finished pieces. And he's just like, it seems like he's so jealous. And then Paul just feeds into it and is like, yeah, I don't want to work on it either, man. I want to work on my stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. We were talking about how it seems like, Paul has like this allegiance to collaborating with John, and when George kind of like comes in, he's kind of like, well, I don't collaborate with you, man. I collaborate with John, and we just tell you what to do. This is kind of the drill. You know what I mean?
Right, because like the thing is that you can clearly see like, and it's referenced like Lennon is saying it himself. Like Lennon's like, I'm doing heroin. And the band's like, hey, can we not talk? Like, there's a scene where Paul's like, hey, can we not talk about this out loud? Where Peter Sellers, the actor, comes and visits them for a minute. Yeah. And, like, Lennon makes everybody really uncomfortable because he was just like, I was up really late last night because I was really high. And then, like, Paul's like, hey, can you not do this in front of everybody?
Yeah.
But you could see he's, like, going through something. And instead of, like, going to the person that's, like, actively, like, becoming a great songwriter, he like sticks with the person that's like really faltering in their approach.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, that's just like hyper viewing, but that was
For ultra fans of John Lennon, this must have been somewhat disappointing to watch his documentary because he's like just there, but he's not really adding much.
I completely agree.
He's fun when he's fun and like playing all the Chuck Berry stuff and like having a good time. But the times where it is kind of like them working on stuff, he's kind of just like literally like with his head down as like Yoko like rubs his back and you're like, yeah, this guy was just out to lunch, which is how it was. Like it's realistic. So
Yeah, it's interesting.
How do you feel about that conversation in the flower pot where Lennon goes, I was the leader, now you're the leader.
Yeah.
That's the moment where they're like, he's like, yeah, I was the leader of this band. I don't want to be the leader of this band anymore. You're the leader of this band. Just do it. I have no interest.
Yeah, just take it over. Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah. And I also just to maybe like bring the mood a little bit lighter, I love just like you were talking about very flamboyantly dressed sleepy-eyed Ringo Starr just kind of hanging out half asleep in the background like the whole time, just like
First one to show up most days.
Yeah.
Ready to rock, sitting up on his riser, just like, yep, tell me what we're doing.
Yeah. But you could see he was just like, there were moments when they were all like doing their thing amongst each other where he's just like so bored of it that he's like, all right, and can we just like fucking play the songs? God damn it.
Best moment of that is, I think, Long and Winding Road, and he's like asleep with his asleep on his head on the back riser, and Paul's like, yeah, there wouldn't really be much drums here, would there? And he's just like clonked out. He's just like, yeah, there really wouldn't be much drums here, huh?
It's a good, just to throw out a funny, fun Ringo quote is right after George like quits the band. Spoiler alerts here. After George like quits the band, there's a flower delivery for George, and it comes in, and they are all kind of like having to laugh at it or whatever, and they're like, did you like India, Ringo? And he's just like, not really, no. And he just kind of like brushes his hair back and stuff because you're just like, yeah, he did never like the India thing.
Also,
it's really funny.
Where director Michael Hogg is like pestering them, like we should need to go somewhere else. We need to go somewhere else. And Ringo is like sitting next to him. He's like, I just farted. It's like one of my favorite moments because it's like you could clearly see he's just like, I don't really like you that much.
Yeah.
That guy is.
Oh, we got to do it on a boat. Let's do it on a boat.
He's almost insufferable.
Yeah, the whole time when he just
has a need to like be ideas, but also like kissing ass the whole time. It's like, I get it, biggest band ever, but yeah, he's annoying.
My favorite background characters are like Glenn Johns, and
Fur Coat Master,
and what's his name?
Mal Evans.
Yeah,
come on,
Mal. He's the MVP. He's like the road manager,
roadie.
Right? Yeah.
Mal made so much toast. How much toast that man must have made.
And you know what though?
Mal
looked
toast
like he was.
And tea
he looked like he was really happy to be making toast and tea for the Beatles. He's just like, I'm hanging out with the Beatles, man. He was happier than picking shit.
Hell yeah.
You know? But
hitting the hammer on
and he's just
Maxwell's silver hammer.
Glenn Johns, when he's talking to John Lennon about Alan Klein, and he's like, have you talked to Alan Klein? And John's like, yeah, he's great. And he's like, oh.
Spoiler alert, he wasn't great.
He's not a great dude.
No.
And he's just like, oh, because he's like a horrible he's like saying in a very nice way that Alan Klein's like, oh, insufferable to be around. And John Lennon's just like, yeah, I'm not going to hear any of that. And it's like, it's so funny. It's one of the funniest scenes ever.
Well, to watch that play out, right? Like the precursor to them going to, and they're like talking about it like when it's still an idea. And you're just like, no.
You're like, don't
you're like shouting
do
it
that.
from the back. You're like, don't do it.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
What I liked on this viewing was how it's the 3 episodes. And it's very much like setting the table, meeting the characters, tension, what's going on. And then it kind of breaks. Second episode, it's like real drama and reconciliation, really working on stuff and trying to get their shit together. And then the third episode is like straight off the bat, it's like let the good times roll. The whole third episode is just like all smiles, all jokes, all good things. And then they do the concert for the last half hour of that third episode. And it's like, this shit's... It's very neatly constructed.
Yeah, that's Peter Jackson for you, though, man.
There was there is like a lot of like nice like segmented things in there. I also love the second episode's monotony of band practice. Like there's that whole like,
Yeah.
oh my god, guys, like,
Start,
Let's
stop,
play it for the
start,
12th time. Why do
stop.
we make the same fucking chord mistake on this?
that feeling for like somebody that hasn't been at like a band practice is like, it's that feeling you're just like, oh yeah, yep. Yeah, like that's that feeling, and for other
Yeah.
people to get to experience that is just like really wonderful. Like all these things, like being that everybody that's been in a band has some like aspect of these things happen.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to be like, oh yeah, like that's what's going on here, and
Yeah.
this is what's going on.
Yeah, it's really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another moment I love framed is like when Paul and Linda first walk in, and Paul is playing all these songs that he wrote about Linda in front of her, and she knows that they're about her because they're referencing things they've done together.
Yeah.
But nobody in the room knows what he's singing about, and it's this like beautiful moment is where she's taking pictures of him, and then it shows the picture that she just took of him.
Yeah.
One of the best moments
Great
of the
moment,
whole
yeah.
thing for me.
Linda's the best.
Yeah.
The
They'd only
lovely-
been together,
lovely Linda.
I don't even think a whole year. I
Right.
think like 9 months or something.
Yeah.
And he plays backseat in my car for her, and it's just like, it's so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
A good Ringo moment is when Linda brings Heather, her daughter, Paul's adopted daughter, later on, and she's playing with the band. She's playing hi-hats while Ringo's playing, and at one point, like Paul says something about like, yeah, I just don't think it needs to be that heavy on the hi-hats. And Ringo like looks at the little girl, like, does this idiot even know that you're the one playing this right now? Like, he's not even paying attention. He's so in his like, we gotta get the song right thing. He doesn't even realize who's playing what.
Yeah, there's like a child just
Yeah.
like banging. Well, that's like
Also, another good one is Yoko's going,
Oh.
and then it just cuts to the little 5-year-old girl, and she's like, and then like 2 minutes later, she's yelling in the microphone, and John Lennon's like, Yoko, like, this just do a great job, man. Sounds just like you.
Oh man, Yoko just scowling all over this.
yeah,
thing.
I love Heather
Mystery.
and Linda, and the background characters are so like in. I love when
Yeah.
I always want to know what Yoko and Linda are talking about in that scene where they're like gossiping back and forth. You're like, oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
That always interests me. You could tell they wanted to know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
They would move the overhead mics too. Did you notice that? The conversation mics a lot of times, like when Glenn Johns would walk in, or Beatles producer when he
George Martin.
George Martin finally comes in to like rescue the sessions because they're not going that well.
Yeah.
And he'll like grab the mic and like move it away so like you can't pick up what they're talking about.
Yeah. It's a couple of good scenes.
How about every time the Beatles tell George Martin or Glenn Johns to like get fucked or get bent in like a really fun way? When he's like, hey, let's take a few takes like consecutively. He's like, all right, and then he just starts playing like Chuck Berry, or he's like,
Yeah.
John, do you have any more songs you want to do for the day? And he's like, yup, and he plays like Blue Suede Shoes.
Yeah.
and he's just like. They're like sitting in the control room, like, oh my god. And then they're like, okay, you guys done? And he's like, yeah, I'm done. And he plays like High Heel Sneakers again for like the 80th time. And you're like, god damn it, man.
I got love for all the characters, but John Lennon, a lot of rolled eyes when I watch it, because I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy was so in his own thing.
And now your
Whatever.
special guest for the
You
evening,
can really tell though, like,
the Rolling Stones.
oh, so great when
Yeah.
you keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah, just peppered in. A copy of Beggar's Banquet that's just sitting on the floor the entire time when they're at the Apple Studios.
When he's on, he's on.
Yeah.
And yeah, the band dynamics thing, man. You know, Paul McCartney just trying to get this fucking thing over the mountain, and he's like, oh my gosh, these guys.
And the other thing too is
Too much, too often.
a lot of Paul's arrangements come in fully baked. So the thing is,
Yeah.
he just has to get everybody to agree to the bake, and
And he
that-
bakes them fast. If they aren't fully baked, he gets that shit
The
Yeah.
crazy thing
half
is,
hour later.
yeah, go back to like the first episode and like watch like
Get back.
on our way home, Two of Us.
Us, yeah.
He's got Two of Us done when he shows up. It's
Yeah.
just getting the rest of the band to buy into what he wants to do.
Yeah.
That's where you're just like, oh, okay, that's like it takes a month.
Yeah.
Second viewing, Beatle MVP.
Beatle MVP, second viewing. Luke, if you want to go first.
I'm gonna say Beatle MVP is George.
Okay. Who's yours?
I'm going to say Ringo.
Nice. I'm going to say Paul. How about background characters MVP?
Background characters.
Supporting actors, we'll say.
I'm gonna go Linda. I really like
Yeah,
Linda
I
this
love
viewing.
Linda.
I'm gonna say road manager. I always
Mal
forget.
Evans?
Mal Evans. Yeah, Mal's
You know
my
what?
man.
I'm going Billy Preston because
Oh.
I always forget
Yes.
how much fucking keyboards that dude played on all these
Yeah.
songs, and when he comes in, it's like the skies open up.
Can I real fast? A great moment to look up when the cops come up on the roof and they're playing Get Back. Billy Preston does not realize that the cops are standing right behind him, and Paul it keeps making him going like, "Look behind you," and he keeps turning around, and then
Dig
Billy,
it, man.
and then Billy, yes, he's just like, "Yeah, man, this is great," and then he's like, "No, look," and then he looks up and he goes, "Oh, fuck!" Like he's like, "There's cops behind me," and then while that's happening, Mal is shutting off the guitar amps, and George is getting like more and more pissed, and he's just like, "No, fuck this," because Lennon won't do it, and he just goes over and he turns on all the amps and he tells Mal to like go,
Beat, yeah.
go away. It's very, very fun moment.
Yeah.
How about if you could have a piece of musical gear from this, what would you choose?
Oh man, I'm gonna say it's the Billy Preston's keyboard.
Oh, the 73, the Rhodes.
yeah, it's beautiful.
I'll go. Oh, I got to go with that Rosewood Telly, man. That
Yeah,
all
okay.
Rosewood Telecaster, George Harrison's guitar. It's so nice, man. It is so nice.
I like the bass 6 that John Lennon plays when he's playing all his bass parts.
Oh yeah. The Fender. Yeah, that thing's dope too.
Lennon, you could tell when him and George have to play that thing, they're like, "I fucking hate this fucking thing." They're so annoyed they have to play
Yeah.
the bass.
Yeah. They're just like, come on, Paul, just fucking play bass, man.
He's like, I'm trying to play 2 pianos at the same time, motherfuckers. Someone has to play something in this goddamn band besides me.
So there you have it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Have you even seen it yet? And if you haven't, you should watch it and then comment below and tell us what you
Yo,
think.
it is straight up. I've seen a lot of music documentaries. This is easily my favorite music documentary.
Oh,
Easily.
it's
Ever.
the best.
It's long, but it's fucking
It's
well
almost
worth it.
as good as Some Kind of Monster.
Give it a
but-
rating.
You,
Give it a rating?
Oh,
it's
A-
a fucking
A plus.
10.5.
Yeah,
it's-
10,
it's
10,
a-
10 on 10.
Yeah.
a million.
Yeah.
Would you watch a longer version of it? If this was like 12 hours long, would
Yes.
you watch
Sign
it?
me up. Hell yeah.
I
Sign
would
me up.
watch any long cut of this.
I wish I had 10 hours worth of footage for every single Beatles album that was ever made.
Yeah.
And I would watch all of them.
This is what just under 8 hours. If this was a
no,
10
it's
part,
6. I thought this was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Oh,
no,
no,
because
maybe
one
you're
of the
right.
episodes is almost 3 hours.
Yeah,
Oh,
one's
really?
like 2 hours and 50 minutes.
and one's
one
like
is,
over 2.5.
Yeah, and the other one is just over,
over 2.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think
they're
the third. I
long.
think the last episode is just over 2.
Yeah, this could have been twice as long.
Yeah.
I would have watched. Yeah, I'd watch any length of this.
Yeah.
It just looks so good. It sounds so good. It reveals so much. It changes the perspective on that period of time. Like I always thought the band was so much different.
Right.
like,
yeah.
Shows
And
the
it shows
reality.
you. I think the reality that we spoke about it too, which you're just kind of like, yeah, they're the Beatles, right? Arguably one of the greatest bands, if not the greatest band ever. And like they still had a hard time writing songs sometimes, and we think of them in such high regard as being like these master songwriters, and they're just kind of like farting around a lot of the time, and you're like, oh yeah, like they have a process, they have to write the song, like it's interesting perspective. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna hit you with the Beatles song draft.
Beatles.
Beatles. We'll be right back. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Hofner Guitars. I have here the Hofner Shorty. It is a full-scale, travel-size guitar. You can find this and all of their products at hofnerguitars.com. All right, everybody, welcome back to Get in the Garage.
We're a music podcast.
For music lovers.
So onward we go. We're, like Luke said, we're bringing back an old school segment. I think it was last year. Did we do it last year or was it
No,
the year
this
before?
was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, we did an album draft. It's an audio only, but if you feel so inclined, go ahead, check
It's
it
a
out. We
good
did
episode.
an album draft of the Beatles' White Album.
Good episode.
So, Jeffrey, would you like to reiterate which albums we're covering this
Yes,
time?
we are covering the middle period classics, Rubber Soul and Revolver. They are the Beatles' 6th and 7th albums. They were released Rubber Soul December of 1965, Revolver in August of 1966. They are both 14 tracks long. They are both almost identical running times, 34 minutes, 59 seconds, 35 minutes and 1 second. So they are like the twin sisters of the middle of the Beatles catalog.
Yeah.
They are the albums that made them from the boy band, rockabilly, rock and roll type of sound into like, oh, these dudes are doing like a lot of different stuff. They're taking a lot of risks, a lot of leaps, a lot of creative freedom. So these are most people's like very highly regarded albums.
Yeah.
In my opinion, these are easily 2 of the 4 best Beatles albums. 2 best 5. I don't know. White Album, I think I like less than both of these. So
Yeah.
2 of the best 4. In my opinion.
Yeah.
These are the albums that were released right before the Beatles stopped touring. Their final tour of the U.S. was in August of 1966, right when Revolver was released. And then they never played live for anybody except for people who were looking up a rooftop and going, who the fuck is playing music right now? So,
Yeah. All right, cool. So we're going to do a snake style.
yeah, we're going to
So we have to
take
determine-
songs. We got 28 total songs between the 2 albums. We will each be choosing 9, and we'll have 1 left over as the least wanted. And here's how we're going to do this. Throw out a 1 or a 2 on shoot. Odd
Okay.
man out goes first and 6th. Ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. Mike has the first and 6th pick. Now Luke and I go 1 rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh.
Luke goes second. I second and 5th. I go 3rd and 4th.
All right.
Let's do it. So
Let's
Mike,
do it.
Luke, then me,
All
and
right.
back.
Here we
And
go.
Alex will be keeping track because this may get confusing. But we'll try our best
Someone
Yes.
just
to
tell me when
blaze
it's
through this.
I've got the order.
my
You
turn.
got the,
Cool.
Yeah.
And we're just
Okay.
gonna like shout out our pick. A little reason why. Bada bing, bada boom.
All right. For my first pick, I'm gonna go.
Yellow submarine.
I'm gonna go with a George Harrison cut. I'm gonna go. It's the first track on Revolver. It's
Sure.
one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time. One of my favorite Harrison songs of all time. The song is Tax Man.
Sax Man.
Sax Man. Sexy Sax Man. Taxi Tax Man. I love this song. I think it's so funny that it's really just George Harrison being angry because he has to pay
Oh,
taxes.
quintessential angry George.
You know, always, you know, if you take a walk, I'll tax the street. If it, you know, it's cold outside, I'll tax the heat. It's just fun lyrics, but also just kind of like saying like "fuck you" to the tax man. So
Great wonky blues song too.
yeah, it's just a
great.
doom, 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 boom,
Great
boom,
weird Paul
Like,
solo.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
Cool.
so there we go, tax man.
Good pick.
number one.
I respect it.
Thank you.
All right, Luca.
Okay, I am going to go off of Rubber Soul, and I'm going to also pick a George Harrison song. It's my favorite song off this record.
Whoa.
If I Needed Someone, I love the
Whoa.
harmonies on the song. I love the 12-string Rickenbacker on the song. It is like the Beatles. It's George Harrison heard the Birds and went, I can do that better. I also love George's lyrics on this song. Some of the best. My favorite song off Rubber Soul. If I Need Somebody, George Harrison.
There you go. There you have it. All right, Jeffrey, let's go.
That's the what was the pick you did from White Album about the sheepdog?
Oh, Martha, my dear.
That's the Martha, my dear honorary pick.
My
I love it.
favorite.
I respect it. Yeah. My first pick is the psychedelic closer of Revolver, Tomorrow Never Knows. It's like the song that is
Yeah.
going to catapult them into their weird Sgt. Pepper's psychedelic phase. Tape loops and craziness and wash of sound effects and just droniness. Yeah, my first pick. My second pick, I'm going with my heart. I'm going straight off my list right here. I'm not going to cheat or falter. It's like my favorite simple melancholy song by the Beatles. It is track 10 off of Revolver. It's a Paul McCartney song called For No One, which is just piano, vocals, and there's a French horn solo in the middle and at the end. And that's my Martha, my dear pick.
That is a very quintessential Jeff Beatles pick.
All right, for my next pick, I'm gonna.
No, we go to Luke.
It's me. It's
Oh.
my
He's
turn.
fifth.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry.
It is my turn, and I am
Okay.
going to go with another song that you guys are probably gonna crank your head at. I'm gonna go with "I'm Only Sleeping" off of
Oh, respect. No, I respect.
Revolver.
Respect.
I love this song. I used to listen to it when I woke up in the morning to get to work every fucking day, and it would make me more tired.
Yeah, of course it would. Luke's double fisting energy drinks, listening to a sleepy song.
I would literally listen to this song, and I'm so tired off of White Album,
Yeah,
like back to
right.
back, because I just love the
This guy.
AB of like Lennon just being like, I'm fucking sleepy, man. So I love that song, and I love being sleepy, and
It might be the best like first sound in a Beatles song where it's just that like droopy like strum. And it's like, whoa, we're instantly into this song.
Yeah.
It's so good.
also shout out to that yawn before the instrumental break that
Oh,
I
yes.
just realized Paul McCartney does. He goes, like, it's amazing.
Wow. A good pick. All right,
very
another mic pick here.
All right, I'm gonna go
Back to backs.
I'm gonna go in the similar fashion as I did with my first pick, Revolver. I'm gonna go with the album opener for Rubber Soul this time. I'm gonna go with Drive My
Ah,
Car.
you stole it.
Sorry,
I love that song, man.
I love the bass tone on it. Luke and I
I
were
love that
talking. This
song.
is kind of like the first time that you really hear like a big, giant, woolly bass tone from Paul McCartney, and the choice to. Baby, you can drive. The piano hits and everything
my
like
God.
that. Like
And the beep 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 beep. Yeah, the harmonized. It's just the best, man. It's the best.
like guitar solo. Like it's so good.
Played by Paul, by the way.
Yes, right. Played by Paul.
Yo, that was number 3 on my full list.
Oh,
is
love
it?
I love that song.
it's so
Oh my
good,
God.
right?
Can I give you original lyric to that song
Sure.
that showed up?
You can mow my lawn.
Baby, buy you diamond rings, and he showed up to to the thing, and he went, "That's what I got." And Lennon went, "You can't use diamond ring
On
again.
every song, you
can't
fucking
use
guy."
it again." And he's like, "I know." And supposedly Lennon came up with the euphemism, "Drive my car."
Yeah.
Yo, it is of their like bubblegum, bluesy rock stuff. It's the pinnacle, I think.
Yeah.
It's so
so
good.
good.
The
man.
bass tone on it
So
is
good.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Really great sounding record.
So good.
I got a second pick then, right?
Yes, you do.
All right, I'm gonna go with another one. This may be a curveball, maybe not. I was singing it today all day at work,
Glass
not all day,
Onion.
but for a decent amount. I'm gonna go with Nowhere Man. I like the.
Okay.
I do like Nowhere.
Okay.
She's a. He's a real.
Yeah.
Nowhere
This is a
man.
high school favorite for me.
Yeah, it's just so good. Like it's. Like, and even when it goes nowhere man,
That's the best part. That's the best part.
Like that stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's so good.
The harmonies on like the 3-part harmonies on Rubber
Yeah.
Soul, the singing on Rubber Soul is
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Luscious,
pristine.
yeah.
And the idea of Nowhere Man making all those nowhere plans with nobody. It's like
That's
I
the
just-
young John Lennon theme song right there. That
right,
song.
right. But I just love that. It's introspective too. It's kind of like
it's
isn't he a
early
lit like you?
introspective.
Yeah, it's because he's got making the metaphor. That we're like So anyway, Nowhere Man.
Yeah, a poppier melody for a John Lennon song. It's a really good song. All right, Luca.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with I think John Lennon's best song of the early period, or like his move into.
I think I know what it is.
I'm gonna go with "In My Life."
There it
This
is.
is like a big move for John Lennon.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is one of the best songs he ever wrote. Period. I think. Shout out to the harpsichord solo that's sped up. That's played by.
Which is a piano.
Oh, yes,
It's a
you're
piano
right.
sped up to sound like harpsichord.
Played
George
by
Martin,
George
producer,
Martin. Thank you.
the real musician in the group.
Yes.
The old man.
So I love that song. Again,
Yeah.
introspective, a look back at your life from a young man, which is very interesting. Classic song. People often play it, when somebody passes away or something sentimental is happening. So I really love it. And one of the first John Lennon songs that got me hooked. I would love the song when I was in high school.
In the conversation for greatest Beatles song of all time.
I think so.
It's in the top 5.
I mean, that's
when
the
you
one.
ask a
That's-
person,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
It's at every wedding. It's a slow dance at every wedding.
yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah, a young man who went through a lot of young life tragedy, and
You could see
Yeah.
on Rubber Soul that Lennon was maybe the pushing
still, yeah.
the better songwriter than Paul, and then soon would flip right about the next record.
Yeah.
With maybe this song, which is a song featuring pretty much just vocals and a string ensemble. My next pick is Eleanor Rigby off of Revolver. This is maybe the song that took them from being a rock band into like, oh, these guys are like doing some experimentation and
Yeah.
going in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it's just that's another one. It's in the conversation of what is the greatest Beatles song. It's
Yeah.
always mentioned up there.
Yep. Yep.
It wasn't gonna be high on my list, but going through all these stuff, I was like, I got respect for like one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Even I remember the first time I heard this. Shout out to the Beatles One compilation that we talked about last
Same.
week. When
Yeah.
this song plays on that compilation,
yeah.
you're like something's happened because
Yeah.
like it's like we all live, and then it's like dum dum dum, and you're just like
Yeah.
oh, and like it's so existential for like a child, and you're like what the
Yeah.
fuck is
I remember
going
the first time I
on?
heard that song
Because
too, man.
one is chronological, which
Yeah.
is why it's a greatest hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember where I was, what I was doing when I like first heard. When I mean, I'm sure I had heard this before, but the first time I had really heard it, I was like, "Whoa, what? This is the Beatles?"
And the new mix, it sounds even so much better.
yeah,
The new mix, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago.
yeah,
And my next back-to-back pick, I think I first fell in love with this song because of the cover version that was featured on the I Am Sam soundtrack, which I think was done by Eddie Vedder, my memory serves me. But it's from Rubber Soul. It's I'm Looking Through You.
yeah.
I just love the acoustic, strummy song, and then in the breaks it has that like psychedelic organ, and you're like, oh yes, it is 1965. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
It's just a great kind of like rollicking, just banger, man. I love that song. So, yeah.
Very good.
Very good. All right, back to you, Luke. Right?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go with I believe maybe like the first power pop song ever written, "And Your Bird Can Sing"
Oh,
off
yeah,
of
good
Revolver.
song. Good song.
The harmonized guitar solos are like mind blowing. It's the harmonizing vocals are amazing. Everything about this song, I love.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the song's about at all. But
I think it's a dick joke based on my research.
do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's either a bird like a woman or a bird like a dick.
Yeah.
Because Frank Sinatra famously used to call his dick his bird. And this was like in response to him saying like
Yucky,
the
Frank.
Beatles were a bunch of young hacks who couldn't play their instruments.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the possible.
That at the end, the
Yeah.
so really fantastic playing, and one of my favorite genres of music, power pop. I feel like this is the quintessential power pop template. So
Yeah. And that song sounds like the Beatles, a lot of people now listen to the Beatles and it's kind of ragged and, a lot of you can tell where they make edits into the song and stuff. But that song is like so crispy clean. Like it sounds like it could have come out in the 90s or something. Like it's very well done.
yeah, like Revolver has a couple different like recording sounds on
Right.
it. Like I'm Only Sleeping is like
Right,
really
right.
funky. Where that one is like you're right, so crispy,
Yeah.
and all like the vocals on it are all like still sharp. Where
Yeah.
it sounds like you're like, oh, this kind of could have been like
A decade later, yeah.
yes, like
Yeah,
in
it
the
sounds
mid
good.
'70s.
Yeah, I love that song. It is about nonsense. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay, so I get two, right?
Yep. Don't steal mine. I don't know.
Is She Said taken?
No.
All right, so I'm gonna go for She Said.
Good Ringo drumming.
Yeah, I just like this tune. I like the same thing. It's kind of got like this lazier, laid backy kind of like jangly guitar thing, and like that nice big,
It seems like we're some big Lennon fans over here.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Shout out to that Black Keys cover that I think a lot of
Wow.
people are hip to. That's a pretty good cover of that tune.
Yeah, this is a song that has that droney kind of Indian influence thing in it, though. Like,
Yeah.
because it kind of all sits on one thing, and then
the-
it does a little tag at the end.
The bridge in the song, when it goes like,
Oh, the timing changes too. Yeah.
yeah, that is like super crazy. The like time change in the
Yeah.
bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, and then my second one, I'm gonna go for it. I don't think it was taken yet. I'm gonna go Norwegian Wood.
Oh
I'm a
no,
Norwegian
you
Wood guy.
stole it from underneath me.
once had a girl.
I get hot and cold. I get
me.
I get hot and cold with Norwegian Wood, but it's a
I do
great
too.
tune.
I do too. But I love this song, man. Like the verse, the chorus, everything about it, man. It's just so good, and it's that super memorable. Da, da, da,
The best part is the bridge,
Yeah.
all the minor stuff,
Yeah,
the
right.
harmonies.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
with the bathtub line.
yeah.
Great.
This song I was like, I've always kind of written off, and when I made my master list, I have like my categories of like love, like dislike, and hate or whatever. And this I thought was gonna be middle of the pack, and it ended up being like 7th on my list. Like
Yeah.
I really like this song a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
On another list.
Also,
Yeah.
maybe the first Beatles reference of the Fool, right? Of that nature.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Perhaps.
Luca, up to you next.
All right, I am going to go with one of my favorite Paul McCartney songs. I'm going to go with Michelle, My Belle. I love the French lyric, or like pseudo French, whatever it is, fake French. I don't know. I don't speak French. I love that aspect of it. It's really Paul McCartney like hears a vibe of music and can like replicate it incredibly well, except for oobla dee oobla da.
Come on, man.
Every
he put the black face paint on while he recorded and everything. All right.
Oh my god.
So, having said that, Michelle is a great like take on that, just like
Yeah.
French cabaret kind of
Oh, yeah.
style music, and it's kind of funny in
Yeah.
its own way. I love that song. Paul McCartney at his best, doing his like step into vaudeville
Right.
soon would do. Yeah.
I like the like no tone on little guitar counterpoint solo thing. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
That's master of pastiche, man. Like Paul McCartney just finds a style and he can perfectly replicate it.
Yeah. So good.
And also that was like the A and B with Norwegian Wood, because they were competitive, so they would write songs, they'd hear someone write about a certain topic, and then they would write one about that. So they were like writing those at the same time,
Yeah.
hearing each other through the walls and being like, oh, I can write a song about a girl better than this.
Yeah.
All right. It survived. My only one to survive all of your picks in my top section. My next pick is supposedly the only song that John Lennon ever praised Paul McCartney for writing, and it is the choral, supple song Here, There, and Everywhere, which has beautiful harmonies.
Yeah.
It's just like a very dreamy, throwback to kind of like doo-wop music, that like soft doo-wop music. And then my next one is the ode to Motown, Got to Get You Into My Life, off of Revolver, which I just love. I love the horns. I love how raucous it is and how soulful it is.
I love the new horn separation on the new mix.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And I also want to say that I thought your first pick there, which was what was
Here,
it?
There.
Here, There, and Everywhere.
Everywhere.
I thought that was going to be your first pick starting off the gate. I thought
Nope.
that was going to be your first.
I think it was number 6 on my 7 on my master list.
A little further down.
Yeah. I thought it would be higher, but I had to give some respect to ones I like a little bit more.
All right, Luca, back to you.
Okay.
We're about halfway through.
This is dangerous territory.
Oh, no, we're getting into
We are getting down kind of into
I can't wait to see what's left over at the end.
kind of getting into the nitty-gritty here. I'm going to go with my heart here, and it may not be the right choice, but it's my heart. I'm going to go with Girl off of Rubber Soul. I love John Lennon's
Talking about that earlier
angsty,
today.
vocal inhale that also sounds like he may be inhaling a joint. And I like the take on that. I like how moody it kind of is. Also love the bridge or middle eight, whatever it is,
yeah.
where it goes like dum 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 dum
Yeah.
dum dum dum. Very strange, very weird, almost like English folk music. Also, I believe in that song they go tit 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 tit
Yep.
tit 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 tit.
Yep.
They keep saying the word tit because they thought it was funny, and because the Beach Boys go la and ooh, so they thought they'd be very who they were and
Yeah.
say
Monty
tit.
Python-esque.
Yeah, right,
Yes,
right.
which is very funny.
Yeah.
So, Girl.
Yeah, I used to get kind of like sleepy immediately listening to that song, so I wouldn't listen to the full thing. But the middle on is like gets so much more interesting.
And it's just with like the other when it jangles back. I
Yeah.
just like the A. It's a
Yeah.
weird song.
And it has that Frenchy nature too, where
Yeah, and works with the whole concept of Rubber Soul being like a folky rock album. So folk soul.
All right. Well, onward. I'm
here
gonna
we go.
I'm gonna go with "Love You Too," the psychedelic sitar-y raga, if you will. If the
Respect.
Beatles wrote a raga, this would be it.
I don't know. There are some other Beatles ragas.
Yeah,
this is,
no,
this
there
is
are.
The first
This is
dip.
the first.
This is the
Yeah,
first
this
dip.
is this is Raga 1. I love this song, man. Like, and I don't know what Indian instrument it is, but it's that like
Harmonium.
that thing. That's harmonium.
I assume so, where it's that like
Oh,
windpipe
the
organ. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a big harmonium
thing in the back.
Yeah.
I love that song, and yeah, man, I just love. I mean, George Harrison's sitar career was pretty short, but I do love
He
this
does what
one.
he did. Yeah.
He learned from Ravi, man. That Ravi's the guy. So, and then the next one, I'm gonna take a bullet for you guys. I mean, maybe it's a bullet.
Oh, come no.
Maybe it's a bullet. It's not the bullet, but it's one of them. I'm gonna go with "I Want to Tell You." I like that song. I think that has one of Jeff's least favorite musical moments on
It
it.
was last on my list.
I
And
knew
it
Jeff
holds
would-
that chord for
I
so
know.
long. I'm like,
And
somebody kill me.
That is why I love that
Ugh.
song. I'm like, yes, give me discomfort. Make me
It's-
feel like be off-putting.
It's much better. It's much better in the original mix. It's way more. That chord is way more buried in the original mix. Where in
Give
that
it to me
new
front
mix,
and center. I love it.
that new
Make
mix
me uncomfortable.
is bold in the middle.
Also,
Yeah.
I don't like that chord, and also wherever it goes on the bridge is like very George Harrison. Where like this chord progression does not make much sense. It is so angular and strange. Of
Yeah.
like, it seems like some of these chords should be major or minor, and they just aren't. They're
Doesn't
just
matter.
the wrong.
Doesn't matter. I don't give a shit about any of the rest of the song. I'm in it for those clashing.
Thank you
those
for
clashing notes.
taking that one.
You're welcome. I knew it was your bullet, so I figured I'll take it. I'm not taking the one though. That one. Go on.
Oh man.
All right. Those were my two.
Okay.
So
now
Luke?
on to Luke.
I'm going to take a song that I actually enjoy. We're
Okay.
going to go underwater with Ringo's first aquatic song, "The Yellow Submarine." This is a song largely
We lost a lot of
written
good men on that sub.
by John Lennon, strangely, who would write some of these like kind of childy songs, and I think largely taken up by Paul McCartney as a fun adventure to make a creative song. I loved this. This is one of the first Beatles songs I liked or remember liking, so that's why I still like it here. Shout out to the full steam ahead.
Thank you.
Noises. My favorite part of the song. Also, the band that plays in the middle
Yeah.
is clippings of full band, and then they took the clippings, threw it on the table, and rearranged them, and it played almost the same way it was recorded originally. So that's why that sounds pretty good. Another interesting factoid on that song. And I love. It's Ringo's personality all day long. It's fun. It's warm-hearted.
Yeah.
It's the Yellow Submarine is. It's a weird tune for Lennon to write, but I like it.
Yeah, I think my negatives about the song is because this song became so huge. And like we talked about the conversation of like the songs people name as like, oh, this is the iconic Beatles song. This is always thrown in there. And I'm like, get that fucking bum out of the room. It doesn't belong.
It doesn't belong, but in a lot of ways, the tape manipulation over it with the adding in a found piece of music, very pushing it, and the grinding, the noise making. I think that blew a lot of people's minds back.
Sure.
They were like, "Oh, it sounds like we're on a submarine." So, also very cool for little kids to be like, "It sounds like we're on a submarine." You know.
Yeah.
I always liked that. So
Respect.
that's where I'm coming at it from. The Yellow Submarine, I'll take it. Also, fun movie. Mike's got to see it. He's never seen it.
What's that?
Oh, I've never seen it either.
Mike doesn't even know about The Nowhere Man.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Who
Living in a nowhere land.
Yeah.
All right, so my
Let's
next
go,
two. Luke took a Ringo pick. I am now taking a song that for the longest time I thought was sung by Ringo because Paul is singing it so Ringo-esque, and that's the song off Rubber Soul called "You Won't See Me." And I know he has that like always flat double track type of Ringo type of sound of
Yeah.
that. But I love the "You won't see me" like that weird little kids type thing. Yeah, I love it.
I also love the bridge. I love the bridge in that song.
Yes,
Time
after
after
time. Yep.
Yeah, I love like all the bridges on Rubber Soul are like my favorite
Yeah.
Beatles bridges. Because they like were writing them really well at the
Yeah.
time and like or always putting them in their songs. So
Yeah.
like a lot of them on there.
Yep. And then my next pick is the song I would play as my wake up song, which is the jazzy vaudevillian type of Paul McCartney song, "Good Day Sunshine."
That was gonna be my next.
Just a
pick.
bright and sunshiny song,
Yeah.
and a little soft shoe, a little tap dance. You know?
Yeah, and I love how it's in the beginning, and then yeah,
Yeah, it becomes like a Mary Poppins song, basically.
exactly. But it's so good though.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right, Luca.
Luke.
I'm going to go with a George Harrison song, "Think for Yourself" off of Rubber Soul. I like this song. It's a little preachy from George Harrison. He could kind of be like that, and I like the way he uses words like opaque. They are
Yeah.
very kind of George Harrison's nature. And I like the fuzz bass that plays in here. The
yeah. Yeah.
Some very cool stuff going on in there.
And this is kind of like rockabilly-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of got that vibe going on. It's kind of more like it's definitely that 60s like psyche soul thing going on.
Yeah.
So suit the Rubber Soul, if you will.
Right on. So my last and final two picks, I'm gonna kind of go out as a rocker. I'm gonna go with "The Word." I know. I'm sorry. I love this song.
That survived a long time.
It did survive a long time. I was kind of surprised that one wasn't taken yet.
Next on my list.
But I do love I love that song. Same thing, big woolly Paul McCartney bass. It's got the whole thing, and it's got that Taxman sort of snap to it. It's got
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I love that song. And then my final pick of the evening will be a bullet that I'm taking for my man Jeffrey. I know he's not a big fan of the song. We're gonna go with the good doctor, Dr. Robert.
I got prescription. It's for illicit drugs.
Also,
Dr. Robert.
we got to note the
Yeah.
bridge in that song with the crazy love.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Pre-Pink Floyd.
Pre-Pink Floyd, Pink
yeah.
Floyd. So
Very
there you go.
strange.
My last two.
The gift that
rockers.
keeps on giving.
That's
Dr.
it.
Robert.
Dr. Robert.
Very orchestral.
All right, Luke. Final pick.
Final
Malpractice, Dr.
pick.
Practice. Your
So-
license has been revoked.
There's not a lot left.
Street doctor. That's
Listen, there's not much left. We got 3 songs on the board.
What are the 3 songs on the board? Can I have?
The songs are "Run for Your Life," "Wait," and "What Goes On."
Oh, I'm
You
gonna
gotta
go.
choose one.
I'm gonna go with "What Goes On."
I knew it.
It's
Country western, straight from Liverpool.
Straight from Liverpool.
I think this is a Ringo song that works really well.
Yeah.
I really like that they wrote him like a country song that worked well, and it sounds cool. I'm into it, and it definitely has that like birdsy "Sweetheart of the Rodeo" flavor.
Yeah.
Way before that came out, and backing track's really good.
Yeah.
First Ringo co-writing credit.
Really.
Yep. He claims he only wrote about 5 words of it, but he got a co-writing credit on the song with Lennon and McCartney.
Nice.
It's the first one on any Beatles album.
Go Ringo.
Shout out to Ocean Liner Carolina, that song that
Okay.
he is trying to write and get back.
Yeah.
Quintessential Ringo.
The words were something about the tides of time. I think it's in the second verse of the song.
Yeah. All right, Jeffrey.
All right, my last pick.
Let's go. What are the picks? What are the
We
options?
have "Run for Your Life" or "Wait." My last pick, the last pick to be taken, will be the song "Wait," which I have almost no recollection of, but it's higher on my list because "Run for Your Life" is one of those kind of like, is this kind of like borderline predatory type of songwriting?
Oh.
I think it's just a play.
It's cheeky,
I think it's Lennon being cheeky,
but it's also
But there's also a lot of murdering
It's
women.
dark.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
murdering.
dark.
They murder the girl in Norwegian Wood, and
Yeah.
they murder the girl in Run for Your Life. I also think it's a play on it's Elvis. Like it's a play on like the old like I'd rather see you dead kind of thing. But I don't think people played it off
The
like
over
that.
enunciation of the words too.
Yeah, like I think
Yeah.
it was more like a pull on like that old Elvis-y rockabilly kind of song, and I just don't think people pull it off like it's a cheeky play in the modern day.
So that's the untaken pick. Explain what Wait is, because I have no recollection.
Wait is a backing. Wait's backing track was recorded during the Help sessions and was
Okay.
not used. And when they were completing Revolver, was brought back up to be reworked on.
Can you hum a little bit of melody, possibly?
Wait until you come back to
Oh,
my
yes.
side,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
and you
That's what it was.
forget the
It was
tears
top
I
of my
cried.
heap of my last category, my last group,
Yeah.
because it is nice. It's like a throwback to their Help and
It is-
earlier
Yeah.
days.
It is a really
Yeah.
great song.
Good
As
harmonies.
soon as you learn that it was tracked during Help, you could tell
Yeah.
though, because listen to the bass on Drive My Car, and then listen to the bass on Wait, and you're like, oh yeah, two different
Because Wait is
times.
just doom, doom, doom. It's just very
Even like the tone on Drive My Car is so fat and woolly, and then this is just like, okay, it's old Beatles. You can still tell they hadn't figured out how to record the bass yet.
Yeah, that's a Rubber Soul.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
But
Well,
good tune nonetheless.
And Run for Your Life, not taken.
gentlemen,
I knew that was going to
Gentlemen,
be
it's been
the
a
song,
pleasure.
not
it's
taken.
been a pleasure.
Alex, do you want to read down our list, please, for
Yes.
us? Can you read down person by person of our final Rubber Soul Revolver mini albums?
So, starting with Mike, your album goes as follows. This is in the selection or the order that you selected
Please,
them.
thank you.
Your first track on the album would be Taxman.
Yeah.
Going into Drive My Car, Nowhere Man, She Said, Into Norwegian Wood, Love You Too, I Want to Tell You, The Word, and then closing with Dr. Robert.
Dr. Robert.
Your album's not
Yeah,
great.
The
Your
Word.
album is like yesterday and today.
It opens well.
The Word
But ends
survived
The
so
Butcher
long.
album.
Yeah.
The Word was the sleeper pick of the whole draft, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. On
All right,
next.
on to Lukey.
On to Luke.
Let's see how mine plays.
Your album opens up with If I Needed Someone. Going into I'm Only Sleeping. In My Life.
The morning song.
Wake up. I go back to bed.
Then going into
In My
And Your
Life.
Bird Can Sing. Michelle. Girl. Yellow Submarine. Think for Yourself. And then you close with What Goes On.
I don't like Paul McCartney that much.
Good closer.
Clearly not.
Good closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It
closer.
is a good
Yeah.
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anti-Paul.
Yeah.
You took the most amount of sleepy songs.
I took all the
Yeah,
Lennon.
man.
And
Yeah.
Lennon's like, I took
Drowsy.
all the moody, anything moody, I took the moody
Yeah.
songs.
Don't play Luke's version before 9 p.m.
All right. And to round it off,
All
Jeffrey's
right.
album.
A lot
Let's
of
go.
sad, a lot of sad songs. Let's hear
Sad
it.
Boy Hours.
All right, let's do it.
Sad Boy Howard.
You open with Tomorrow Never Knows. I cry.
Kick it off.
For No One is your next track. Going into Eleanor Rigby. Your middle goes into I'm Looking Through You. Here, There, and Everywhere. Got to Get You Into My Life.
Paul, all Paul.
You Won't See Me. Good Day, Sunshine. And then you end with Wait.
There you go.
Yo,
You were like Paul-centric.
respect it. You know me, man. You know me.
Fanboy.
George,
You know me.
Yeah.
I'm Lennon. You were Paul.
And Alex is Ringo.
Uh-huh.
Because he's here. He's here early. He's ready to work.
That's it, man.
And we
He's
all
ready
just
to
fuck
go.
around.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go, guys. The next, and maybe this time next year we'll do another Beatles album draft. There's plenty of music to go around, so we could probably select another two. But what do you think? If you had to piece together, a greatest hits out of these two? Like, what would you select? It's an interesting.
Can we do our today rankings? Where do Rubber Soul and Revolver fit for you on your
Man.
after listening to all these tracks to get prepared for this?
So we listened to
Yep.
Revolver a couple weeks ago, and I was
Yep.
like, oh, I love Revolver. And then I listened to Rubber Soul again, and I was like, I love Rubber Soul.
You're more, yeah.
way more of a Rubber Soul person
Yeah.
than I am a Revolver person. Even
Yeah.
though I think Revolver is like a way more like expansive record.
Yeah.
I like Revolver way better because of the harmony singing.
You mean
and
Rubber Soul?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I like Rubber Soul better because of the harmony singing, and that's like all over it, and it's really pop rocky and folky, and
Yeah.
really enjoy the bridges.
Yeah.
For reference, you guys took all the songs out of Revolver first. Rubber Soul ended with the duds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
On my master list, I think the highs are slightly higher on Revolver, but the lows are slightly lower on Revolver.
Yeah, I would
don't
say, since we covered Revolver last, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I think this is my number one, and then Rubber Soul was kind of number two. I think that just went crunk like that for me in this listening to, because I fucking love Rubber Soul, man. I do. I love it.
My favorite Beatles record, I still think though, is Let It Be. Let It Be is like still probably
Yeah.
my favorite Beatles.
So these
record.
are somewhere in the 2 to 2, 3
2 and 3.
range.
Yeah, definitely Rubber Soul is like my 2 or 3.
Yeah, I had a lot more respect for Rubber Soul after this listen. Yeah, they are the twin sisters, man. They are so both pretty equal in terms of like what they mean and what they achieve. I still think I like Revolver a little bit more. I like the highs a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
Is that your number one? Number one?
No,
What's your number
it
one?
can't
number
be because
one?
I looked at my master list and I was like, well, if there's 2 songs that I'm like, ugh, about my number one Beatles album, Abbey Road.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's because for me, the worst song in Abbey Road is Octopus's Garden.
Okay.
And even that is better than Yellow Submarine.
I'm
in my
going to
opinion.
jump over this table. We all know Maxwell Silverhammer.
Listen,
is a
have some
way
respect for
worse
Mal
song.
Evans, who played the hammer.
I love Maxwell Silverhammer.
Me too.
Bang, bang, Maxwell Silverhammer.
But I do. I will put these both. You know, I thought they were 4 or 5, and they're closer to 2 or 3 depending on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
Right
albums,
on.
man.
Yeah.
Classics.
So there you go, guys. Another one in the books. Until next year, we hope you enjoyed our Beatles Extravaganza. Yeah, let us know what you think. What's your favorite Beatles album too? I mean, shit, throw that in there. You know,
Beatles for sale.
as
Yo, this dude Mark at work was like Magical Mystery Tour today. I was like, whoa.
That's
that would
yeah.
throw
We're
me
like, I was
for a
like,
loop.
hey Mark,
Blue Jay
what's your
Way.
favorite?
Yeah, man. I was like,
Dude.
you're getting down to Blue Jay Way.
Bulldog. Something about a bulldog.
No, Hey Bulldog's not on there. That's on.
Oh, that's
Yellow
on the
Submarine.
full. Oh, okay.
Your mother should know. Come on, get up and
Yeah.
yeah, man, getting
That
down.
one threw me for a loop. Anyway,
Beatles, baby.
as always, like and comment and subscribe. And a quick shout out to Aunt Janie. She is a huge Beatles fan, and she let me know that anytime we cover the Beatles, that she likes that when we cover the Beatles. So this one's for you, Aunt Janie.
And a shout out
We
to the
love
lady
you.
who I met and told me to turn off the Beatles, and I said why. She said I think the Monkees are better than Beatles.
Are they not?
To
Anyway,
Davy
this is to Davy Jones. This has been Get the Garage. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
listening.